for some time, I thought about this question of judgment. What is judgment? How do I know if I'm being judgmental towards someone? I was able to answer this question by probably differentiating between when I am appraising someone or a situation than being judgmental about it. In other words, if I look at someone else and I understand them to be different from me, I notice, for instance, how tall they might be, whatever they're wearing, maybe, what part of the country they come from. These are, in my view, appraisals of this person. They are telling me a set of facts about them. But if I then go on and to attach some negative attribute to whatever it is that I am observing about them, then I'm being judgmental. For instance, if I understand them to be from a certain part of the country, and then I follow with, most people from that part of the country are whatever. That is being judgmental. Why is this important? Because I think judgment is one of the most uncompassionate things we can do to one another and to ourselves too. We are supposed to understand our own differences. We are supposed to understand that each one of us is unique, but we are not supposed to judge one another for being different, for being unique. The compassionate thing would be to view each person as a respectful person, different from us. But that difference must not cause us to judge or condemn them in any way. We sometimes use judgmental terms. We describe a person, for instance, we call somebody a liar. And I have a problem with that because when we call someone a liar, we are judging them to be lying like almost as a profession all the time, instead of saying they lied one time. And this helps to not judge a person, but to understand that they did something wrong at some point in their lives, instead of condemning them forever to be a liar, for instance. The opposite of judgment is acceptance and compassion. So if we are not judging someone or a situation, what we are saying is that we accept them for what they are. We understand they have the right to be different. We understand that they have the right to hold a different viewpoint than we do. We are not going to judge someone because of the certain way that they dress, because of the certain way that they eat, because of a certain profession they have, or the certain age, etc. We talk about discrimination in law, for instance, age discrimination, sex discrimination. These are judgments. These are judgments that we make. But by contrast in compassion, we accept that people are different. We are not going to judge them. We're not going to judge ourselves, which we do harshly, I think, for the most part. But we are going to be accepting in compassion, understanding differences, but not judging anyone by essentially condemning them. I was listening to an interview that was given by this quote-unquote career criminal who had been in and out of jail for most of his life until he got out, I think at the age of 40. He recalled he was in prison when he was 13, in and out, and everybody had told him and judged him to be a really bad person. And he essentially began to agree with them that he was a bad person and he didn't know any different or any better. And he was essentially doing what a bad person is supposed to be doing, a bad person is supposed to rob and steal and cheat and lie and all of those things. So the way he understood it, he wasn't doing anything that was unexpected. He was a bad person, so he was supposed to be doing these things. Until there was an opportunity where he learned from someone who was compassionate that said, you know what, you may have made these bad choices, you did these things wrong, all of these awful things that you did. But if you accept that you're not, you don't judge yourself for being a bad person, but understanding you have made mistakes, then the road is open for you to turn around and to understand the mistakes that you have made, to perhaps make good if you could, and apologize or do whatever you need to do, but to be able to then get on a different path, to choose a different life. Although you've made these mistakes, although you've done all of these things, but you are not judged forever, and you don't have to continue accepting this judgment about yourself. You can actually redeem yourself. You can be better. You can choose differently. The problem with judgment is just that. We call someone stupid. We call someone lazy. We call someone fat. We call someone a variety of different terms we use to judge people by. In my view, none of that is compassionate. And none of that helps anything, especially the person who is being judged, because it just goes on to reinforce a negative idea they have of themselves. Someone who's being told by a repeated number of people that they have a certain negative quality is going to kind of begin to agree with them that, yeah, maybe I am lazy, and maybe I am this, and maybe I am the other thing, and kind of be set on that particular path. But stepping away from judgment and accepting people for what they are goes a long way to avoid conflict and to put in motion negative energies that I don't know if anything positive comes out of judgment. I don't know if it helps anyone for them to be told that they are bad, or I don't think that helps anything. So the best thing that can be done is, again, to accept people are different, they make mistakes, they make bad choices, and I'll go into more detail about why we make these bad choices a bit later on. But people make bad choices, but as long as they are given an opportunity to correct by a compassionate, understanding other person or community or whoever might be around them, they are afforded the opportunity to correct and to understand that it is possible to choose differently. That's what we're supposed to do. But this judgment, unfortunately, it's kind of putting somebody in a tomb and just shutting the door and throwing away the key. We're not supposed to do that. People make mistakes. Even I remember watching a video of this courtroom trial where a drunk driver had driven into oncoming traffic and killed a mother and a child. The little girl was 3 years old. The father was in court. And at the time of sentencing, when the relatives get an opportunity to address the court and the accused or convicted person in this case, something miraculous happened. This father chose to forgive. And he said that, I understand that you made a mistake. You were drinking, you were driving, you caused deaths of the most beloved people to me. I will never see them again. I understand that, but I'm not going to carry hatred for you in my heart and judge you. I understand that you made a mistake. This was an accident. I understand. If you had the choice, you will not do this again. And this man forgave this convicted person. So again, judging people is not helpful in any way whatsoever. It just shows that we hold contempt and anger for the subject that we are judging, it's not going to be helpful. The best thing is for us to do is to understand mistakes, understand evil acts, understand bad choices, but not to condemn a person, judge them for being bad. Again, going back and remembering all of us created equally, and we are all spiritual beings having a physical experience, then I think we are all worthy of the same respect. We do make bad choices, going back to the teacher-pupil example, and also reviewing that evil and suffering are not quite what they seem to us here on earth. So again, with all of that understanding, I think it is most helpful if we choose compassion as opposed to judgment. I was listening to a couple of these near-death experience or testimonies. I remember the first couple of times when I heard this, I was like, I knew that would be the case, but I had not ever heard anyone say it. They said when they left their bodies and they essentially went to the other side and to the other realm, the first thing that they felt was that there was no judgment. They were not judged for any mistakes, for anything they had ever done here on earth at all. They were not judged at all, which is the opposite of what we are taught by our established religions. That's the first thing that's supposed to happen, but there is no judgment. And I think the power of forgiveness and compassion way outweigh judgment, way outweigh what we're doing to one another in terms of condemning each other to different negative outcomes. So always, I think, choose compassion as opposed to judgment, and particularly stop judging yourself. When we treat other people the same way we treat ourselves, we hold them the same way we hold ourselves. So someone who's abusive to somebody else is also being abusive to themselves as well. We judge ourselves really harshly sometimes. We view our weaknesses, as we call them, our deficiencies. We constantly are appraising ourselves and comparing one with the other. And that is not helpful, I don't think. When we are not accepting of ourselves, we need to just accept ourselves for who we are, for what we are. We are worthy of respect. We are respectful people. And once we start to place ourselves on that path to compassion, things are going to start to look a little bit different. Step away from judgment, go into acceptance, and onto the path of compassion. We're going to begin to like the person in the mirror a little bit more. And we are going to be more forgiving of our own mistakes, even the past mistakes that we seemingly can't ever go back and correct. But understanding that we are here to learn, and we do make mistakes, and we do have shortcomings, but to judge ourselves and to be unaccepting and cruel, again, does not have a positive outcome. So do forgive, place yourself on the path to compassion and away from judgment, and you will begin to see life a little bit differently.